Hi, happy spring. I'm Marlene and welcome to Marlene at Home. I'm the Adult Services Supervisor at the North Carroll branch of the Carroll County Public Library. And the segment that I'm doing this week is called Spring Table Celebrations. This is a season of family gatherings and religious observances. And so I wanted to do a table. I'll show you in my dining room a table that I've set up with some ideas for spring holiday dinners and gatherings. And we've kind of formed this table of the month kind of thing. I was looking back, and in October I did a fall table, and Thanksgiving I did a Thanksgiving theme, and of course Christmas came and I did lots of things with Christmas. And then January I changed my Christmas things out and we did a snow theme, winter theme. Then last month I did the classic blue and white table setting in my dining room. And so tonight I'm going to do the spring table celebrations. You know, Easter will be here before we know it. Easter is April 4th, but also 2021 Passover begins on Saturday night, March 27th, and ends Easter night on April the 4th. So our Jewish friends will be celebrating at the same time as well. I was thinking about what are some of the preparations that families might be doing at this time of year. I thought about coloring eggs. Maybe you have colored eggs as a child or as an adult with your children or grandchildren, or gone on an Easter egg hunt. I know that I grew up doing that. I did it with my children. Now we enjoy doing it with our grandchildren. There might have been some music involved in this season. There might have been special church music programs. There might have been special concerts that you go to related to this season. There may be some special clothes involved. I know as kids we had the Easter bonnet on our head, the hat, the gloves, the dressy dress, the new shoes, the little purse. Some years even my dad would buy us flower corsages, so might have had all of that. I know we've got plenty of pictures of my sister and I in all kinds of outfits. Also, flowers play a big part in this season. Flowers such as tulips and daffodils and Easter lily, those sweet-smelling hyacinths of all different colors. So flowers are often a big part of Easter and this season. Also special food. And I had to laugh when I thought about this. I thought about what my family often had, not that it had to be every single year, but my family might have ham and mashed potatoes, different vegetable casseroles, coleslaw, different desserts, and there were some years we went out rather than be at home or have company. But I did think, when I thought about an Easter table, I did think of the neighbors that lived next door to me growing up. I guess when I was later elementary, they moved in, and our dear, dear neighbors were Ukrainian. And I'm telling you, if you've never seen an Easter table of a Ukrainian family, you have missed a spread. I don't even know, and my apologies to other Ukrainian friends. I'm thinking back 50 plus years ago, so maybe I'm combining some of my holidays, but some of the things I remember walking into my next door neighbor's house was, first of all, just the magnitude. They were a family of 5, but the magnitude of food. I remember things like the table was covered, I think, with a special tablecloth, flowers on the table, a candle, but they were very small in comparison to the food. And I had to even write down all the things. I won't even remember everything. But I remember that their priest would come to their home. I'm hoping this is right, but this is how I remember it. Their priest would come to bless the food, and the food would be spread all out on this table. And the tradition was that my Ukrainian friends, they would have a diet of 40 days during Lent, a diet of no meat, no eggs, and no dairy. And so at the end of that 40 days would be Easter, and then they would have all this spread of food. Now, these are just some of the things I could think of that I remember. And as I said, this might not be exact, but I can remember, as a child, I remember being fascinated that their butter was shaped like a lamb. But for meats, I remember ham, and maybe sometimes there might have been lamb. I'm not sure about that, but I remember ham and kibasi, and this gorgeous large loaf of bread, kind of a braided cross, and maybe flowers or something in the dough is shaped like just, oh, it's wonderful, and it was sweet. There were all kinds of cheeses, cottage cheese and cheeses that I had never even seen before. Fancy hard-boiled decorated eggs, horseradish. I think that's where I got my love of horseradish. Beets and a mixture like of beets and horseradish. All kinds of veggies, pierogies. I don't know many Ukrainian words, but all the ones I do know are food titles, like pierogies. Let's see, deviled eggs, cold salads, fancy desserts like you would not believe. Oh, backing up a minute, stuffed cabbage, how could I leave out that? But pastries and cookies and layered cake, that like the cake layers would be like this thin, but there'd be like 15, 20 layers in that cake. Crisp chicky that just would melt in your mouth, kind of a pastry cookie kind of thing. Just more food than you could ever imagine. And usually the day or so after, or the evening of Easter, our neighbors would invite us over, or they would bring some leftovers to us, and it was a whole new gamut of food for me to learn and love. And my sister and I sometimes remember the things that we didn't care for, but not very often were there things we didn't care for. So my apologies to John, if you're watching this, their son, and I've gotten things mixed up. It's a memory issue, so please forgive me. But I just remember how they would talk about their church service, and how when they would go to Mass on Easter morning, that they would greet one another and they would say, "Christ is risen, risen indeed." And what a fun church celebration that was for them at Easter. So that's a table, an Easter table spread that I will never forget. My table spread is nothing like the one I just described. This is my kind of table spread. Here's some ideas for a spring and Easter table idea. I really like to use some bright spring colors. Last year I was able to get this tablecloth that I really love that's got a lot of different pastel colors. So one year if I wanted to do everything in bright pink with this tablecloth, or with aqua. Last year I used mostly aqua. I had this one round aqua placemat, so I kind of used that as my starting place last year. These are some flowers that I've had for a number of years. Usually I have them on the desk in the foyer, but I've moved them out here. This was my china, Paul and I's original china that we purchased on our honeymoon. Noritake and Dora pattern. This is what I've used the most years of my marriage. It's not been until later in life that I've gotten other patterns like my grandmother's china, different pieces other people have given me. So I really like this. This is the first time I've used this orange melon kind of color placemats. These were my friend that just gave me a lot of hand-me-downs a few weeks ago. They were in her pile, and so I was like, you know, there's turquoise in here, this almost exact orange is in here. I love the tablecloth, the words on here, all describing this season for me. Blessed, miraculous, joyous, resurrection, faithful, he is risen, heavenly, all that kind of thing. So I just really like this. I found this at a discount store last year. It was my first year of using it, and so I've enjoyed doing that. Just on a whim, I found these down. I usually use these out on our back porch in the summer, and I found this down in the basement. I thought, hey, I've got the aqua placemat, I've got the aqua teal goblets, plastic though they be, and then orange and teal, those colors on the color wheel are just opposite of each other and very complementary to one another. So I've really enjoyed putting these together. I've never had a table this looked like this any Easter before. If you're having little ones at your holiday dinner, you might want to go to the dollar store and buy a plastic tablecloth protector. It's just clear vinyl, and you can have the same table, but on top of your tablecloth, you might want vinyl, and then if something spills, nothing lost. So I mentioned that to you. Another thing I've told you before, I like to check out seasonal titles at the library, and I have this laying over on my high chair in the corner that was my dad's, and I just love to add these each time, and I may have talked about ideals before, but my mother always purchased these over the holidays. We'd have them in our home. She'd give them as gifts to people, and so I just checked this one out at the library. And I laugh because I open, and if you don't know ideals, there's poetry, there's photography, there's artwork, there's stories for families, Bible stories, a hymn story, old-timey kind of stories, nature stories. It's really a fun old-fashioned book. But I laughed when I just opened this before filming. On the first page is the poem "The Daffodils" by William Wordsworth, and in 4th grade, our whole class had to memorize this poem. Not that I remember it, but I'll just read the first stanza. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high o'er vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils, beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. So Mrs. Watkins, 4th grade language arts class, that was only one of the 4 stanzas we had to memorize. Those days are long gone. Here's some still shots of my dining room, the flowers that match the colors in the tablecloth, a cut glass bowl with some Easter egg lights. You'll see them better here in the close-up. I enjoyed the Easter blessings with the glitter around the edge and the white lights. These are tea towels I bought last year and now I'm using for table covers. My corner cupboard with an antique glass rooster, an Easter egg basket. And here are some shots of the dining room with low lights. And here's a view of the corner table and the side serving table with 2 different kinds of battery-operated candles, the corner cupboard, and a view of the table, the centerpiece, and then you see the egg wreath in the back. And here are some seasonal book titles I'd like to recommend. This one is a children's book. It's Decorating Eggs, and it has a variety of different techniques and designs that you can do, so I recommend that one. This one is a newer book, and it's called Creative Cookie Decorating, and I've just turned to the section that is on the spring section. On the left side is the sweetest flowers, how to make lilac flowers. This one is tea time flowers, and I like this because it's the daffodils and the pansies. And then you will not be able to see this on the camera, but then it's step-by-step pictures and directions. So I recommend that one. Also, you know, I always like to recommend, magazines, and this one is Cooking with Paula Dean, Paula's Easter Sunday Supper, and this is from March, April of last year, 2020, but we were closed then, and so you may not have been able to see this one. Best Spring Dishes from the Dean family. There's a coconut custard pie on the front. This one is the same. This is April, May of last year, but it, like brand new, hasn't been touched because we've been closed most of the year. Taste at Home, Spring Fling, and it's got treasured recipes from Ma and Grandma, vintage cakes, deviled eggs, sweet and savory rhubarb, Easter ham made easy, plus leftovers you'll love. So I mentioned that one. Here's another one of those Easter ideals, like I mentioned in the dining room. And then I really enjoyed this book, The Seasonal Jewish Kitchen, A Fresh Take on Tradition by Amelia Saltzman. And they have a whole section, it's divided up in the different times of the year. And this is the section for March and April for all of the Jewish holidays in those 2 months, Purim and Passover. And I'd say there's about 10 pages of recipes, related to Purim, and about 40 pages of recipes recommended for during Passover. And I really like the background that they give you, telling you how it's related to the book of Esther in the Old Testament, and how some of these recipes got their name and what character they're related to. And so anyway, for my Jewish friends, anybody really, but a Jewish cookbook that I highly recommend. And then for my Christian watchers, one book that I've just gotten for myself to read, but there's more than one copy, is Liz Curtis Higgs. This is the Women of Easter. And I'm really enjoying that at this season. And so I recommend this one for my Christian friends. And this is, as I mentioned, by Liz Curtis Higgs. And I think this is like, she's written like 30-some books. And so she's a great writer, a hilarious speaker. And so I'm going to be enjoying that one myself. So thank you for joining me at Marlene at Home. I appreciate you coming into my home each week. And I hope that you'll have a blessed Easter, a happy Passover, or whatever you may be celebrating in this spring season.